This week in immigration, Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy tried to distract from his political woes with a visit to the U.S.-Mexico border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott filled buses with migrants and sent them to D.C., and the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments in a case challenging President Biden's effort to end a Trump-era policy that requires people who want to claim asylum in the U.S. to stay in Mexico. This is all happening now, with the midterm elections just 6 months away. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary was at the House today trying to defend the administration on all things immigration.
Our responsibility in the Department of Homeland Security is to implement the Title 42 authority of the CDC at our border and to implement it effectively and judiciously according to the law.
Title 42 is a public health measure that gives the federal government the authority to stop migrants, refugees, and asylum seekers at the border, supposedly to limit the spread of COVID. The Trump administration evoked the measure in March of 2020. It's set to end on May 23rd, and with that, the GOP has one of its midterm messages. How do you square this idea of Title 42 as a public health measure? I know a lot of Republicans have been excited to see the mask mandates be struck down recently. How do you kind of square those ideas that this is a public health measure, but do you still believe that there is a pandemic going on?
This administration, also in their hypocrisy, they still want to force CDC COVID-19 protocols upon us. That's why they're going to the courts to continue the mask mandates on planes and in public transportation, but yet they're just volunteering to give it up on May 23rd for non-citizens and illegal immigrants. And so there's a hypocrisy there, but I don't care whether it's public health or not. I think the massive intrusion of our southern border, invasion of our country, that to me is a public health incident and it needs to be addressed.
On Monday, a federal judge in Louisiana effectively ruled to keep Title 42, at least for now. It's not just Republicans seizing on this. Democrats are super scared they're going to lose seats in November. Some are trying to head off a hard re-election campaign, like Senator Mark Kelly, who introduced a bill earlier this month to keep Title 42 in place for another 60 days. Title 42 is a public health measure. Do you think that there is still a pandemic and a public health crisis at the border?
Well, we don't know. For me to be comfortable with thinking the pandemic is 100% behind us, I think we'd have to get to the point where there's very low case rates. So I don't think Title 42 should last forever.
Okay.
Because this is a public health issue. It was put in place for public health. But before you get rid of it, you should have a plan for how you're going to deal with the increased number of migrants.
Do you think that the Biden administration is ready for Title 42 to end on May 23rd?
No, it's just not. I spoke to the Secretary of Homeland Security about this yesterday. It's very obvious that we do not have the tools in place to deal with an increase going from 7,000 to potentially 18,000 individuals a day.
The plan that Secretary Mayorkas presented today, do you think that that's going to help?
The idea is to have a plan that would help us handle an influx of migrants. But from my first review of the plan, it's still not sufficient enough to get us to a point where we can handle the influx. In the case of Title 42, for certain migrants, their return to Mexico, if that was to go away, we've got to find transportation and housing and the ability to process these folks, and that is not yet in place.
Do you think that maybe you could lose re-election because of the Biden administration's policies?
Well, I don't think of any issue as to whether it's going to help me or hurt me win an election. My job here is to make decisions and create policy that helps my state of Arizona, and helps our country. So I'm not focused on how this relates to an election that's 6 months away.